Tim.
Hello.
First of all, thank you very much for taking the time to
My
be
pleasure.
here today. It's an honor for me to interview you. So as you know, UNESCO launched Futures of Education in September 2019.
Right.
And it's an initiative to envision how learning and knowledge could help reshape this ever-changing and increasingly complex world. So, and Rotary has been a long-standing partner of service to UNESCO. So it'd be interesting for us to hear a few eminent Rotarian voices such as yours, and hear your views on how education can maybe help reshape our world.
Right. Good.
Okay. So what do you think the main challenges are for young people in navigating this very complex and ever-changing world today?
Yeah, I think in the 21st century, life for our youngsters will be very different from those of our generation. In particular, now we have various elements at play: globalization, and even regional integration. There's also this digitalization as well.
Right.
So life is very different. And if you look at the way that we conduct ourselves in our daily lives, some of the usual patterns that we used to be used to be doing, it doesn't work anymore because there are more efficient ways of doing it, quicker ways of doing it. And the same applies to education for our youngsters. We have to prepare them for a world which is going to be different. It's evolving all the time. And so they need to be quite multidisciplinary in terms of how they equip themselves. In the old days, you get a degree, a very specialized degree in one area. But nowadays, we all know that that doesn't solve a lot of the real issues of the world, because most things are interrelated, multidisciplinary. So education has to cater for that. And also the digitalization, the digital world is here to stay. And how our youngsters will be able to take advantage of that, to be strong with the digital skills, but yet be able to have the empathy and the wisdom when they apply all these skills in real life, because that is important for the development of societies.
Because empathy will differentiate us from robots, for example, right?
It is very important. You can do a lot of study and be very single-minded, very blinker view of life. We need people, we need citizens, we need our youngsters to be more broad-minded, with vision, with more international understanding, because that's very important going forward as well.
Right. Yeah, so that brings us very nicely to the next question, which is about technology. So in a technology-centric world, how do we position human-based learning?
I think this is a very, very interesting question. Nowadays, you see, youngsters, and us as well, we use the websites, the e-platforms all the time. But yet, we find that there's so much misinformation and incorrect information in the system. So we need people, many of our younger generation, to be able to use technology, but they also need to have the mindset and the skill to make sure that they can critically review and understand what they are being fed or what they are looking at, whether it's actually true or not. So fact-checking some of the things that you are looking at is a very important skill. And the other thing is, although we talk about a lot about digitalization, but human communication is equally very important. If you're going to succeed in life in future, you really need to be able to communicate. And that's language skills, that's soft skills, all these need to be developed during your education stage as well. So technology is good, use it wisely, use it, but you need to prepare yourself so that you can use it properly.
Excellent, thank you. So as the chairman of the SFC and the Education Commission, you're clearly an exceptional leader. So what qualities do you think a good leader should have? You mentioned a few just now, communication skills.
Yes, I think one really needs to, in the early days, need to have this sense of curiosity. You should have that habit of trying to find out, why things are like this. Once you have curiosity, then you develop your interest. Then you know roughly perhaps the areas of your interest and where your strengths are, and you can then fully develop your potential. So I think for leaders in our education system, we should give them the right opportunity to actually have curiosity, and find out for themselves. Because only through that process that then you know what you are interested in, and you'll probably be more successful if you do something that you really have passion and interest in, rather than something that the system tells you this is what you're going to do. So I think that's the way forward. We really need to leave a lot of space for individuals to develop themselves. Teaching and learning is important, but equally the self-development is also very important.
So it's apparent now that sustainability is no longer a luxury, but a necessity. So what are your main concerns in terms of creating a more sustainable future?
I think sustainability in all sectors, be it in the financial world, or in the community, is very critical going forward. Because if we don't have sustainability, we don't have a future. So climate change is a big issue that people have to tackle. So our students ought to be aware of the issues, and if they are interested to do something about it, by all means pursue their interest there. And I talk about digitalization as well, and that's fine. But if we don't use it wisely, a lot of harm will come through as well. So that's why in terms of sustainability, the most important element is for our students to be able to critically look at what they are being given, and then make up their minds that whether this is first of all true or false. If it's true, then try and find out a bit more and try and do something about it. If it's not true, then they at least have if they are aware of it, then they have a better perspective of the issues. Because, or else you're always being fed with misinformation. Your mindset and your values will just not be the same. And once you drop into that mode, it is very difficult sometimes to do a U-turn and come out of it. And that, if youngsters continue to do that, this world is not going to be succeed.
So do you think right now our curriculum, our education provides enough support in terms of that? Like, is sustainability integrated into the current education system?
Well, in Hong Kong, we are looking seriously into this. The current government has in fact set up 8 task force to look at different parts of education in Hong Kong, including curriculum developments. So, like everything else, more can be done. But of course, within the confine of limited time at school, etc., we try to do as best as we can. But as a youngsters, I hope our younger generation will be able to use their personal time as well to pursue their interests. And if they read up a lot more about sustainability issues, they might find it so interesting that they will spend their personal time to pursue this. And I think that's good for society.
Yeah. And as more specifically as Rotarians, how do you think you can impact change and also create a future-proof education system?
Yeah, I think as Rotarian or Rotary clubs, we're service-based community clubs. There's a lot we can do. There's simply by engagement and action, participation. In District 3450, we're very fortunate that a lot of our Rotarians are involved in the education sector, both in terms of advisory committees, private schools, university councils, school councils, etc. A lot of them are involved. So that gives us a platform, for us to air our views, proper discussion about education, what are the issues, where we're heading, how do we properly equip our students for the future, and we can, as a result, we can be advocates as well in the society on education matters. The other thing is clubs can do service projects as well, within the community that they serve. Find out some of the bubbling issues, and then through various channels, direct them to the right subcommittees or even Rotary themselves to take a stand, and then be an advocate in the community for the way forward. I think there are many ways for us to participate, and I'm very happy to see that District 3450 is actually doing it through the good efforts of many senior Rotarians and other Rotarians.
All right, well, let's fast forward 30 years to 2050.
Yeah.
What do you think the collective meaning and purpose of education will be then?
2050, I think my view is that education should produce what I call adaptive, responsible citizens. Because it's only through that this work can continue to improve and sustain itself. Adaptive in the sense that I talk about nowadays you need to have multidisciplinary skills to tackle issues. I've been told that youngsters now expect to have 10 to 20 different jobs during their career, during their working lives. So most of these probably are not identical. So in terms of education and training, you can give them certain specific knowledge, but you also need to equip them with a lot of the other soft skills, like the whole person development concept. Right? You need them to have positive values, the moral values, and you also need communication skills, all the soft skills that we talk about. So we need them to be adaptive, but we also need them to be very responsible citizens of the world as well. So, in terms of sustainability, they should play a part to make sure that this world is sustainable. In terms of all the other things that they come across, they are able to judge for themselves whether this is right or wrong. So that you don't just get being misguided by information. So I think it is important that education will come up with a group of youngsters all over the world that are able to master these attributes. Because then I think we will be in a better world going forward.
I love the idea of the whole person development. And I think Hong Kong education is more sort of brain focused, mind focused, and not so much an entire person. Are there any other countries that you think are like pioneers in this whole person?
In fact, the whole person development concept is quite prevalent worldwide. Hong Kong is doing this part as well. But because we are in a sort of Chinese culture, and we also have the attitudes of parents, which traditionally, is very keen on their children achieving good academic standards. So that has got its own problem. So parent education is also a very important aspect, because the child spends time at school, and after that, the time will be spent at home. So, you know, the education or the role model that he or she comes across at home, and the values that they are being sort of taught at home, that will actually make a big difference to them. So in terms of education, you know, something can be done at schools and universities, but others need to be carried out at home and even in society. So it needs the effort of everybody in order to come through. But yes,
parents need education as well.
Yes, parent education is going to be a big topic in Hong Kong as well. You know, I headed a task force that looked at parent education as well. So the government is going to push out a program to have positive mindset in terms of parent education, reduce the stress for both parents and students, so that, you know, they can grow up, you know, in a much more healthier, much more happier environment, and that is conducive to learning at an early stage. So once you get past that, you know, once you establish your positive values and moral values, you know, you are able to move on in life in a proper way.
Build the solid foundation.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right.
Okay, so personally, what are your greatest hopes for an education system that will provide us with a good future?
I think I hope students will have a good experience. That's why, you know, ideally, you know, the schooling experience doesn't need to be too much of a hassle or stress for them. Because I think life, you know, studying is only is only a phase of your life. There are many more years after that. So, but it needs to be properly developed during the early years of education. But you also, I wish the system would be able to give individuals choices, because not everybody can excel academically. Some of them might want to move into vocational and other professional education and training. So the pathways need to be there for people to have a choice. We can't stereotype them that you have to go through university or else you don't have a future. Life is not like that. So we need to have multiple channels so that they can develop the best potential in those different channels. Because at the end of the day, they will all come out to be assets, human assets, you know, talents of the community. And humans are not the same, so you know your destiny will be different. But if we look at the world, different people excel in different manners, and a lot of very successful people probably don't have a very strong academic background or record, but that doesn't matter, because once you achieve and attain certain attributes and skill sets, that will stay with you throughout your life. And once the opportunity comes through, you can leverage them, and there you go. You can be very successful indeed.
And the passion and curiosity is
absolutely.
what fuels this
exactly
drive.
That's right.